Guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives, back for an album review, actually a double album review. I've been asked a few times if I could or would, kind of zero in on, single album reviews, opposed to covering them off in updates. And I'm like, you know what? What a good opportunity to take a look at these two albums that only came out a week apart. Kind of similar in styles of bands and bands that I love. The bands are U.D.O and Primal Fear. U.D.O I've been following since literally day one, 1987, with Animal House. Legendary vocalist Udo Dirksnyder formed this band after exiting Accept. And then we have Primal Fear that I personally got into a little bit later. I think right around the Rule Breaker album, 2016. Honestly, I don't know why I waited so long. Just good, consistent, makes me feel good metal. That's how I can best describe a little bit of this, because I'm going to describe more as I go. But I thought we would just take a look at both of these albums. I'm just not one of those review guys that can crack off a review on the day before the release, the day of, or the day after. I need some time. So U.D.O Touchdown was released on August 25th, and Primal Fear Code Red released September 1st. So a week apart. So I have 3 to 4 weeks under my belt. I feel like I really kind of know these albums fairly well. I won't describe or review every single track. I'm going to kind of go over some highlights, throw in some other stuff. I guess I'm not your typical reviewer, but both released on Atomic Fire Records, which actually they got in common with Halloween, because actually Halloween is also a part of the Atomic Fire lineup. So quite a few really cool bands over there at Atomic Fire. Marcus there absolutely knows what he's doing with some of these bands, that's for sure. So I'm gonna, before we get into this review, if you are a U.D.O fan, or you're into Accept, which you're gonna have comparisons obviously with the original voice of Accept, with some of these tracks and things like that, and actually another member too, which we'll talk about. But if you are a U.D.O fan and you're into vinyl records, there is 4 reissues coming on November 24th for actually 4 very hard to get albums on vinyl. And actually, I think a couple of them haven't even ever, had a vinyl reissue. So starting off with, and they're all released on the same day. This is 1997's Solid, and that one is getting reissued all on AFM Records, which is U.D.O's previous record label before they jumped over to Atomic Fire. 1998's No Limits, 1999's Holy, and 2002's Man and Machine. These are all consecutive albums. This is album number 5, 6, 7, and 8. And between Holy and Man and Machine, biggest gap. If you are a fan and you know a little bit about Udo, he did have a heart attack at that, in that period. That would be, that obviously he recovered from, and has doing much, much better, and is nonstop. They really nonstop work ethic, album every 2 years, basically, except for, that case. Anyways, those are coming out November 24th. So those are up for pre-order if you're interested. All right, we're 4 minutes in. We haven't even tackled any of these albums. Let's start off with U.D.O Touchdown, 18th studio album. Just incredible run. That also includes a period of 4 years, 1992 to 1996, when Udo reunited with Accept for 3 albums: Objection Overruled, Death Row, and Predator, and then resumed actually with that album, first album I showed you, Solid, in 1997. But this is their 18th studio album. You know what? I love the colors and stuff, but it's kind of corny. There is a certain amount of metal cheese, I will say, in some of the themes, the lyrics, and that goes for Primal Fear too. But honestly, I just love it. It doesn't bother me in the least. I wouldn't listen to these bands or love them like I do if that kind of shit bothered me. The music is, for the most part, fast, heavy, just traditional metal for the most part. Yeah, and it just makes me feel good. But there is the cover. So this is their first album since 2021's Game Over. And in my opinion, Touchdown is a step up from Game Over. It is darker, heavier. There's probably, no, there isn't even one slow track really. And the other cool thing is long-time original bass player for Accept, Peter Baltes, has joined U.D.O. He left Accept in after the Rise of Chaos album. And if you know anything about these guys, there is a bit of animosity between U.D.O, especially with Wolf Hoffman from Accept. And obviously, Peter wasn't happy in the band and left. Since then, on Too Mean to Die, new bass player Martin Montanek, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, has taken over bass duties. But anyways, good to have Peter and U.D.O back in the fold. That and, Stefan Kaufman, original classic lineup drummer of Accept, is heavily involved with anything U.D.O. Production-wise, he did the mastering on this album and appeared on, I don't know, I'd have to add it up again, probably 9 or 10 U.D.O albums as the guitar player. Which, if you're ever interested, I did a ranking on them, but it needs to be updated to include Touchdown and Game Over. But anyways, very solid album. I did pick this one up on vinyl, but I'll show you that one in my next update. Here's the track listing. We got a kind of a football theme for sure. American football, whatever you want to, I know football's a little bit different the term is different for some people. Yeah, and like I said, a little bit of cheese, so what? This album is a little darker, heavier. It starts off with a track called Isolation Man, which is a total riff fest, and obviously with the lyrics, it's COVID-related song for sure. Second track, The Flood, decent track. Double Dealers Club, another good one. And then into the third single, Fight for the Right. Very cool, kind of Accept type of guitar riff. I really enjoy that song. That was, like I said, the third single. The first single from this album is called Forever Free. And it did throw me for a bit of a loop, because I think it's one of the lightest tracks on the album, but still, just a traditional heavy metal song. But I thought, you know what? I was expecting a little bit more, and I wasn't let down on the second single, which is the title track, Touchdown. That one actually has a couple little classical pieces into, as does Fight for the Right. But Touchdown, kind of think Fast as a Shark. Obviously not as good as Fast as a Shark, because I don't think anything is as good as Fast as a Shark, in my opinion. But anyways, kind of think of that speed on that track, Touchdown. The heaviest track on this album would be The Betrayer. Check that one out. Heavy riffs, snarly vocals, and that's one thing I was going to mention too, that Primal Fear, U.D.O, and even Halloween, that has technically 3 vocalists. So you got 5 guys that, in my opinion, haven't lost a step. Sure, they might, the range might not be full, and I shouldn't say haven't lost a step, but the vocals are not an issue for, Ralph Scheepers or Udo Dirksnyder. you know, Kai and Gang for Halloween, you know, Michael and Andy. But so that I just threw that in there. I don't know. Sometimes these thoughts just come as I am talking. But yeah, and there is a kind of a track. And I had mentioned earlier the the animosity between Wolf and U.D.O and Peter. There is a track on here called Punchline. It is really, to me, it's a direct shot at Wolf. You know, check it out if you want and read the lyrics if you know the band. It's just, it is a direct shot at Wolf, in my opinion. If it isn't, you know, it could be interpreted as, you know, a shot at, you know, anybody that's hard to get along with or has pissed you off type of thing. There's one line in that song that says, once you've left the room, it's not what you assume, which I think is pretty cool. We all think, okay, yeah, you know what, everybody likes me. I'm, you know, king shit of Turd Island, but might not be the case. But check out the tracks Punchline. Overall, great album. I believe, like I said, it's a step up from Game Over. Game Over was way too long. It was an hour and 9 minutes. This one's, I think, 53 minutes, which is still, you know, a little lengthy, but trimmed it back to 13 tracks opposed to 16 tracks. You know, in 2022, you know, a year ago, U.D.O has celebrated, or did celebrate, 35 years and 18 studio albums. I always look forward to anything from U.D.O and U.D.O Dirk Snyder. What else? I think I'll throw in the backing vocals. You can really tell Peter's there. Peter didn't do any of the writing on the album. That was mostly, you know, U.D.O and his son Swen, with Andre and Dee, the two guitar players. But Peter's backing vocals are awesome. He's actually a great vocalist too, and is one of my favorite bass players. So between this one and Primal Fear, both of these albums have charted in various countries. They're actually going to tour together here in early 2024. And I don't mean here as in Canada. I wish, I mean, fingers crossed, but a European tour with both of these guys. And Primal Fear is opening. I don't know if it's billed as a co-headlining thing. It easily could be. I mean, they're both great bands, but U.D.O being around for years and years. So let's get on to the next one. First album in 3 years since Primal Fear Metal Commando in 2000. A very solid album too. So 3 years in Primal Fear years is quite a long time. If you are familiar with the band, you know that Matt Sinner suffered a terrible illness, which I don't know exactly. You know, I've read up as much as I could on it, but he is really not 100% yet, and I don't think he will be joining the band as a live touring member until he can give it 100%, is what he said. But here is Primal Fear's 14th studio album, Code Red. And yes, the eagle is blessed the front of the cover. You know, if you have all 14 of these albums, you obviously can tell them apart. But this one is very samey, not Metal Commando, but Apocalypse from 2018. It is, you know, they probably should try to vary these album covers a little bit, like they did with and I'm pretty sure this was actually after 6 albums originally with Nuclear Blast. Then they jumped over for 6 albums with Frontier Records. Their 13th studio album, Metal Commando, was a return to Nuclear Blast. And I thought, you know what, they probably just wanted to, you know, have a cool cover to celebrate their signing with Nuclear Blast. Now they've jumped ship over to Atomic Fire. But anyways, I am babbling on. But regardless, remember, there is that little bit of cheesability. But again, I will reinforce that I don't mind it a bit. I have metal. These are, like I said, bands that make me raise my fist type of stuff. For the most part, Primal Fear are a similar band to U.D.O. They are power metal, traditional metal, touches of thrash in there, not a big amount, and speed metal. Just the vocals would be the big difference between U.D.O. and Primal Fear. Ralph has incredible range, and like I said, in my opinion, he has not lost a step. So we'll go, I'm going to cover off some highlights of this album. Now this is, actually I wanted to show you the band shot, which does not include Magnus Carlsen. Now, Magnus Carlsen is an official member of Primal Fear. I don't think he tours with them much, if at all. I've never really seen much live footage. I've seen him in videos, but I haven't seen much live footage of Magnus Carlsen on YouTube or anything, but he has many other projects that he's involved with. He has great backing vocals, great songwriter, great guitar player, and a great keyboard player. So here's your your other 5 members. There's Matt here. Got the short hair, kind of sporting the kind of cowboy hat there. In the video for Another Hero, he's just basically, he's not doing a whole lot, so I think his mobility, things like that, are still an issue. But best wishes to Matt Sinner. He is awesome producer and a very solid member of this band. Him and Ralph pretty much, great tandem all these years since their formation in 1998. Alex and Tom, 2 great guitar players. And this is the second album to feature Gamma Ray, I hope he's still a member of Gamma Ray, but Michael Airy on drums. Fantastic drummer. Only appeared on 1 Gamma Ray album so far. So again, fingers crossed for another Gamma Ray album. But Michael, great drummer. He appeared on Gamma Ray's last album, 2017's Empire of the Undead. If you haven't heard that album, go check it out too. Good German theme here for sure today with what I'm playing in the background of both of these bands. But here's the track listing. Will be very hard to see. Now, for a Primal Fear album, you're looking at generally, if you don't count a bonus track here and there, 11 tracks. There's always that kind of customary 1 ballad thrown in there, one of those slower ballads. Now, this album, again, just like Touchdown, I was thrown off a little bit from the first single, which is the lead-off track to this album, called Another Hero. Now, not that it was bad, but I thought, okay, it's not as fast and heavy as The End Is Near, or stuff they've led off their other albums with, but it really grew on me. It is a really great track, but I would have actually started this album off with The World Is on Fire. It has kind of that track, if you know the track and you know the album, it kind of has a Hellion Electric Eye feel, which, yes, with U.D.O, you're going to get those Accept comparisons. Here with Primal Fear, you're going to get the Judas Priest. It's, are they the German Judas Priest type of thing? There is definitely some similarities with the dual guitars, the dual leads, great drumming. Obviously, fantastic vocals with Ralph. But yeah, I thought that would have been a better start to this album, but the whole thing has really grown on me. Second single was Deep in the Night. Kind of a slower plotter, crunchier, heavier. This is me picking out just crazy things sometimes, but go to the track Deep in the Night and tell me at the 2-minute 41-second mark, you hear some kind of like a kid's squeaky toy. It goes squeak. I thought I was just hearing things, or that it was just on my copy, but I've listened to this digitally and on my CD, and it's there. I don't know what the hell it is, but I honestly think it's left on there by mistake. I don't know, but check it out. Let me know, because again, that's just me being, I don't know, overly observant sometimes, I guess. But and then the third single on this album is called Cancel Culture. It's a heavy track. It is just a sign of our times. Lyrics, great solos in that one for sure. Play a Song, which is the, you know, again, we'll throw that little tiny cheesability in there. It's kind of just a rah-rah song of, you know, we formed this band, we do this. There's a lyric in there that says, when you're having a bad day, you know exactly what to do. And it goes, play a metal song. And you know what? I have those days, and I do play a metal song, and it, you know, brings me back around or whatever, puts a smile on my face. But all right, let's move on. There is a track on here called The Gods Have Failed. Now, it is very, it starts off, it almost reminds me of some sort of Iron Maiden track, you know, later Iron Maiden, you know, newer Iron Maiden. You know, let me know in the comments if you feel that vibe too, but it's a really good track too. Then you got your typical kind of just metal song, Steel Melter. That's pretty heavy. But actually the heaviest track on this album is called Raged by Pain. Very cool lyrics. Ralph just is in painkiller territory with those vocals on Raged by Pain. Then you have, I like where they place the ballad, the track 10, Forever. It's something I could personally do without, but I understand, you know, they do it. They just throw one in at all times. And then it wraps up with a great tune called Fearless. Nice, heavy guitars. Again, great solos. And then at the end, it just kind of just fades out. And you're thinking, you know what? Now I just got to wait 2 more years for another Primal Fear album. And you're probably not wrong. But yeah, so there is kind of my take on these two albums. Like I said, they go, these two albums and these two bands, I feel like they kind of just, you know, they go hand in hand with, well, obviously, and they're touring together. 2 German bands have been around for a long time. But if you, in closing, I will tell you, you know, if you've kind of missed the boat on Primal Fear, a lot of people say they do the samey albums, but for me, and I guess the same goes for U.D.O, there is enough little nuances in there to, you know, keep me interested at all times. I was thinking about this too. It's like, you know, I like certain things. You know, okay, for example, there's a little place in my city that sells cheesecake, no pun intended, but from time to time I will treat myself. And at my age, I can't eat like a schmuck anymore, but I go there, they have several varieties, you know, Score Bar, cookies and cream, New York style cheesecake, and I get a slice and I bring it home. And I know it's cheesecake, but man, shit, it tastes good every time. And that's kind of how I compare some of, not to food and analogy all the time, but I'm okay with something that is familiar and you know is good every time, because that is the case with both of these albums. And now in closing, if you haven't checked out, you know, the deep discography of U.D.O, and you are kind of a, you know, you are an Accept fan, or you love, you know, balls to the wall, metal heart stuff like that, I definitely go check them out. Even start with the brand new album. This would be a great starting point. And that is it for today. So there is my my attempt at a review, or reviews, plural. But hope you enjoyed that one. Until next time, stay heavy.